Benita reacted to her husband's abandonment with extreme measures. She began cutting herself and even tried to commit suicide by over-medicating. The next morning, she awoke unharmed and she decided to go to work, where she ended up having a mental breakdown and ended up having to go to the hospital. She ended up taking counseling classes at the Women's Center, and since then, her life has taken a turn for the better. Benita now says, "I have come so far. I realize it's okay to be alone and make my own decisions. If not for the Women's Center, I would have lost my job, I would have lost my home, and I would be dead." Counseling psychology is a practice that is proven to be beneficial in many people's lives, and is particularly suited for people like you who are willing to implement a biblical worldview within this profession. I have gained knowledge of this profession through research of my own and by reading related articles written by professional counselors. Counseling is a vocation that Christians should begin to view as a platform for sharing the love of Christ through ministering to the mental and emotional needs of hurt people. In these next few minutes, I will discuss this career and show that America is filled with hurting people, that these people are in need of good professional counselors, and finally, that counseling can be used as a tool for sharing God's love. This brings me to my first point. America is filled with hurting people. The way that society is set up today, people are bound to encounter times in which life seems to be too much. The focus in life today seems to be that happiness is the most important thing, and that can be achieved through wealth and through physical or fleshly pleasure. This kind of thinking leads to people spending all their time at work and oftentimes floating around from one relationship to another, seeking to find fulfillment through success and a gratifying love life. Unfortunately, this way of life can lead to broken families. When mom and dad is never home due to overtime at the office, or when he or she begins to look for love from others outside the family, life at home becomes strained and its members begin to feel distant. This has a negative impact on everyone involved and can lead to depression or a feeling of neglect. Which brings me to my second point, that as more hurt people begin to look for a professional to confide in and seek advice from, good counselors become a necessity. Regarding counseling psychology, an article entitled "Graduate School Planning and Information" states, "Through the integration of theory, research, and practice, and with a sensitivity of multicultural issues, this specialty encompasses a broad range of practices that help people improve their well-being, alleviate distress and maladjustment, resolve crisis, and increase their ability to live more highly functioning lives." And the rising need for counseling psychologists can also be seen in the following statement by American Counseling Association. In 2009, an estimated 8.4 million adults aged 18 or older had serious thoughts of suicide in the past year. 2.2 million adults made suicide plans in the past year, and approximately 1 million adults attempted suicide in the past year. In 2009, less than 4 in 10 adults with mental illness in the past year received mental health services. And anxiety disorders affect about 40 million American adults aged 18 or older in a given year. Also as stated by the American Counseling Association, the following statement reveals the effectiveness of counseling. According to a naturalistic longitudinal evaluation of counseling in primary care, after patients were provided counseling, there is a significant reduction in severity of symptoms for anxiety, depression, self-esteem, and quality of life. And this brings me to my third and final point, that counseling psychology can be used as a platform for sharing the love of God with hurting people. Only in God can we find comfort and rest, and this is true for everyone, especially hurting people. God himself desires for us to take comfort in him, and he values our peace. As Psalm 119:76 says, "May your unfailing love be my comfort, according to your promise to your servant." God also values our compassion for others. He used Jesus and his disciples to not only heal people's physical injuries, but also minister to their injuries of their spirits. Christian counselors have the opportunity to help restore man's brokenness by directing him to Christ, who is the ultimate healer. As Christian counselor Dr. J. Adams says, "Counseling has to do with changing people. But you see, that's God's business. There are only 2 ways to change people, God's way and all others." Which brings me to my conclusion. As I've discussed, America is full of hurting people. Broken families are becoming very common, and for many, the pursuit of happiness has only brought grief. As a result, there are many who are in need of good counselors, and with this comes the opportunity for Christians to enter into the vocation of counseling psychology and use it to share God's love to a broken world. If you are looking for ways to reach thousands of hurting people in this nation, you may want to consider counseling psychology as a career. Not only will you have a solid career, but you will also be able to honor God through your work.